Okay, let's talk about the real best picture of 2024. I'm Still Here is directed by Walter Sayas. It is written by Marcelo Ruben Paiva. He's the author of the book I'm Still Here, which the film is based off of. The screenplay is written by Murilo Hauser and Heitor Lorega. Okay, so a little bit of a history lesson before I move into the plot of the film, just because it's important. You know, I don't mean to bore you. But in the 1970s and 1960s and during the Cold War, obviously the main opposition of the United States during the Cold War and during those times was the Soviet Union, nowadays known as Russia. What the Soviet Union really pushed for was this concept of communism. To the US, that was the antagonist to capitalism. And during those times, the United States feared that many Latin American countries would turn communist, such as Cuba did. And because they shared the Western Hemisphere with the United States, due to the proximity and the fear, paranoia really, the United States would support military coups that would stop any sign, any little sympathetic gesture towards this communist party, to the point where they would really support coups. And the reason why this is also important, and you could do your own research, is because one of these countries was Brazil. In 1964, the Brazilian military, with the backing of the US, as backing and support of the US, overthrew the elected president, João Goulart. And for about 21 years, Brazil was under military dictatorship. They heavily censored the press, so there was no criticism to the government. They arrested anyone who showed any sympathetic gesture to the Communist Party, even if it wasn't an active ideology of the person. And when these people were arrested, they were tortured and sometimes killed and left missing. To this day, decades later, it's rare to find someone who will say that they knew where their loved one was taken and what happened to them. So how does this tie up to our story? We begin in 1971, where the military dictatorship is alive and well. In Brazil, there are many people who are moving out to different areas, different regions, because of the corruptness and the horrific circumstances that they lived in. Imagine being fearful for your life in your own home. People were disappearing. There were accounts and rumors of torture and of murders and killing. Bodies weren't found, and a lot of things were changing. Our protagonist is Eunice Paiva. She's played by Fernanda Torres, who does an amazing job at this subtle performance. She's this mother of this, honestly, like, wholesome, beautiful family. There's about, if I remember correctly, 5 children, and her husband is Ruben Paiva. He's a very important man and very significant figure in Brazilian history. He was a Brazilian politician, a congressman prior to the military dictatorship. From what I understand, he was an activist and he quietly opposed the dictatorship while it was going on. You could tell that the film was made from something deep within. It's different. Some films have this element of it's made with someone who's filled with frustration, who's filled with passion for this subject, for their people. Yeah, man, it hits you. Ruben Paiva, he's portrayed in the film as very loving, a great father, and a great husband. And on top of that, he's this amazing host. He loves having friends over. He loves playing foosball with his son and dancing with his wife. Basically the definition of a family man. The inciting incident about 20 minutes in is where, out of nowhere, the military steps into this lovely home and strips it of its heart. They take Ruben Paiva from his home, and of course he did so without any conflict, not wanting to stir any because his family was there, providing no answers or no reason except that he was a congressman prior to the military dictatorship and that he showed a speck of sympathy to the Communist Party. That's it. That's all it took for them to take this good man from his family. And so, whew, got it. And so following this disappearance, we have this tragic story where you see a mother fully dedicated to keeping her family together as best as she can, man. And also a wife who's completely committed to finding out the truth. Where is Ruben Paivas? What happened to her husband? And she dedicates her life to finding out the truth. And the film follows this. And Fernanda Torres' performance does a great job at showing this underlying grief and pain throughout the film. It's one of those things where you won't see your mom cry because she's trying to be the strongest person for you. And that's who she was to her kids. But because this is a movie, the camera takes us where the kids don't. and where it's just her. I don't know if I said that this is based on a true story, but it is, and you could just tell that what the filmmaker did is portray that this man was so loved. He was so loved by his family, but he was so loved by Eunice Paiva. She adored him. And Eunice Paiva, this is a bit of spoilers, but you could really just look this up. She becomes this activist. This movie is so well directed and the performance is great by Fernanda Torres. And I'm a fan of the tension that's built, but the story is unique and just powerful, so powerful. It's a tragedy that you wish was fiction, but it says a lot about our power of voice, how it's so important to stand up against these injustices, and it's definitely stating that the people who were involved in this have to be held responsible. My gripes with the film are not many. At a point, the transitions in time feel a bit choppy. It feels like there's moments that are jumped over that could have been important, you know, seeing that journey. And so me saying that about the time jumps and the journey, I think there were moments in Act 1 that could have been chopped off a little bit just to save time for those moments, because Act 1 felt a lot longer than the other two acts. The other two acts kind of felt like they were rushing it a little bit. And Fernanda Torres brings in an Academy Award winning performance, and it's a small gripe. There are times in the film where I feel like her character is flattened, and the resolution is strong. I really like the way it ended, and it provides this strong commentary of how when you have these moments in your life that are filled with pain, injustices, and these terrible actions done onto you, and like these families had done unto them, it always seems like the memories of these victims will always be in the foreground. After the disappearance of Ruben Paiva throughout the film, he's always spoken about, no matter how many decades passed. Eunice Paiva's character was still there. She may have been 70, 80 years old, but in her heart, she was dancing with her husband in the house that they used to live in. It's very tragic, but like I said, extremely powerful. This movie is a weak B+ for me. Alright, this film is rated R. There's no sex, but there is this brief scene where a woman is taking a shower, and it does show her frontal nudity, but it's not meant to be sexual in any way. It's quite sad. As for the violence in the torture prisons, the tone is heavy. So just a heads up. If any torture is shown, it is brief. Also, and just a heads up, this might be spoilers, a body of a dead dog is shown. The most intense scene has to be when two people are interrogated though. Okay guys, let me know what you thought about I'm Still Here. Definitely best international feature of 2024. And you could tell it's just made by filmmakers who cared immensely about the subject matter. Okay, please subscribe and have a great day. Bye bye.